Hi there and welcome to the Explaining History YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to talk a bit about the Reform Acts, the electoral Reform Acts in Great Britain throughout the 19th century. So if you're watching this, it's probably that you're studying something on the subject. So here's a quick run through of why Reform Acts happened when they did. In 1832, in 1867 and in 1883 the franchise for men was expanded so that by 1883 something like about 60% of all men in the United Kingdom were able to vote. During the First World War, 40% still weren't. So during the First World War, Britain was still quite an undemocratic country. And the reason why the franchise expands throughout the 19th century is really because the working class expands. The pressures of industrialisation and urbanisation meant that there was a large number of working class people who had become unionised, politicised. There were all sorts of radical political ideas circulating, socialist ideas circulating amongst working class people, and there was not an enormous threat of revolution in Britain in the 19th century, but not an inconsiderable one either. Each Reform Act, 1832, 1867 and 1883, is accompanied by quite widespread protest. You only need to look in 1867 at the protests in Hyde Park to see this, and the involvement of people like Henry Hyndman and his Socialist Federation and other leftist groups, to realise that parliamentarians, what they were doing, really reluctantly, it was expanding the franchise because they felt that it was better to incorporate the new working classes into the political system than to leave them outside it. This gradual development of the franchise is probably what enables liberal democracy to evolve throughout the 19th century in Britain in a relatively peaceable and gradual fashion. The right to be an MP by 1851 was still a very expensive one. The Chartists in the 1830s and 1840s had demanded an income for MPs so that working class MPs could be elected, but it still cost £600 by 1851 to become an MP, which would be equivalent of about £750,000 today. So it was the preserve of the wealthy, and there were two kinds of MPs, county MPs and borough MPs. And if you wanted to be an elector by 1851, a voter, you needed to have at least £2 worth of property. So there was a property qualification. Also, in various boroughs and counties, there were all sorts of curious and arcane bylaws about who could and could not vote, thus making it a very kind of complicated and complex system. So, to recap, the vote was not given to working people in Great Britain as an act of largesse, as an act of kindness, and it certainly wasn't given to working people in Great Britain after World War I either as a there, well done, thanks for fighting for us lads type thing. It was always to contain revolutionary pressures and the pressure of protest that was part of the development of modern industrialised capitalist society in Great Britain, and also particularly after 1918 there were immense radical pressures on government and from a militant working class who had been in part inspired by the Russian Revolution and in part by the hardships of war and the bitter economic realities of the post-war era. Hope that was useful, and remember, subscribe and give us a like, give us a comment, say hello, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks, bye-bye.